Been coughing a lot. It's coughing season.
Do you want a cough drop?
I do.
I got him.
If you got to go downstairs.
No.
I think there's a rule about elevation. If someone is kind enough to give you something and they have to change elevations.
I think there's tears to friendship, and for you, I would walk downstairs.
Wow, Nick, the feeling is mutual, but I'm not going to have you do it.
You both offer, but then you don't really want to, but you gotta offer.
Honey and lemon?
Yeah.
You know, Krista wanted the fucking tropical ones. I had to go out the other day and get them for. Well, it's not true. I was already out, but she wanted me to get them for her. And I read, she likes, I like the tropical ones. Those are not cough drops.
That over there.
They are defense. Like, it's immune defense. Like, but you want cough drops. That's not a cough drop. And she got upset, and she goes, I throw her the bag, get upstairs, and she goes, honey and lemon? I'm like, yo, what up?
For a brief time in high school, I liked the cherry ones that they came out with.
Yeah.
But Halls is the go-to.
3.8 out of 5.
Whoa, no.
That just doesn't work for us.
Sound, speeding, camera, rolling. Scene 91, take 303, mark.
No half stars on take 303. No half stars on take 303. Alright, okay, no half stars on take 303.
Welcome to Take 303, powered by Fort Wayne Media, the podcast with the guy who knows a lot about film.
And his friend.
I'm Nick Molinari.
I'm JP Brooks. We're talking everything film and television, and today we are talking about Max's Caddo Lake.
But first, in cinematic news. There's an American Psycho remake coming out. And it's directed by the guy who brought us Challengers.
But haven't they... Oh, no, I'm thinking of Psycho. They've remade.
Yeah.
This is Christian Bale?
Yeah. The other one's the Anthony Perkins one. They also made a sequel to that one. How do we feel about this?
I mean, I was actually watching it in the locker room at work before I get changed. They're usually playing movies on Showtime. American Psycho was playing. And I'm like, man, this movie holds up.
Ironically, that's like the perfect place to also watch it.
Yeah.
Just thinking about like the business cards. Like,
Yeah.
That's where one would watch it. But do we like a remake? Who do you think would be good in the American Psycho?
I just don't think
role?
you need one.
We definitely don't need it.
The only reason you're doing this remake is because you're giving it to a generation who may not go out and watch it themselves. But I feel like American Psycho is classic enough that people would want to see it.
I think it's more in the cult era, so I don't know if like it has enough.
It's because that's when movies were good, right? The 90s, people like the movie. I like the 90s movies, generally speaking. Early 1000s, 90s, good movies.
See, the thing, have you ever seen Midnight in Paris?
No.
All right. I'm going to talk about Midnight in Paris.
All right.
I think it's a perfect movie in terms of how we relate to the past.
Okay.
Basically, this guy, he lives in our time, and he romanticizes the 1930s. In Paris, and he ends up time traveling to that time, and he's hanging out with all these different writers that he really idolizes. He's a writer himself, so he thinks this is the golden age, right? And he meets and falls in love with a girl there who idolizes the 1910s. And they travel back, and she loves that era, and she's like, this is the golden age. Like 1930s, that's so bad. It's like, I feel like as we're nostalgic, we always look back. So like my dad doesn't consider the 90s as a amazing time. He thinks that's a shitty time. For us,
Makes
that's
sense.
like the golden era. So like who's to say where that actually is? And right now we could say like, oh, there's not like we're like, oh, there's movies that come out like Night Swim. But then in 20, 30 years, people are going to be like, man, I wish I was there when like Deadpool and Wolverine came out and Endgame came out and stuff like that.
If you were to say, I wish, man, I was there when the Night Swim came out. No, you know what I think? I think it's the problem that everyone's having now is, and I think clarifying what I mean is movies were made without IPs. They were made for the sake of making a good film. You didn't need to stand on anything. Now, clearly, what's successful in the theater, even if you have a good IP, but like people were really willing to do more sort of.
I mean, at the time we still had like Jason X, which was the 10th movie in the series. So
right.
There is still sequels and everything.
But now we have Jason
X's.
Yeah.
It's very saturated. Most of the movies we saw this year were sequels or extended IPs.
Yeah,
so
I think I think just American Psycho 2, if you watch the film, which I think is evident of a lot of those movies, even like a Jerry Maguire or this, like they didn't really care about the audience. They cared about making a good movie. I think now it's like even Deadpool and Wolverine, which I thought was great, clearly catering to an audience. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a conversation there somewhere. Anything else?
That's it. We'll talk more about Caddo Lake after the break.
Everybody has a vision. Everybody has a dream. Something that needs to be captured on the big screen. We at Fort Wayne Media love taking your passion projects and bringing them to life, whether you're a passionate artist or a small business owner. With expert videography and photography, we're going to take what you love to do, what you love to make, and transform it into a cinematic experience. Fort Wayne Media.
And we're back, and we're talking about Caddo Lake, directed by Celine Held and Logan George, starring Dylan O'Brien and Eliza Scanlon.
Caddo Lake follows two protagonists. Ellie, a young 16-year-old girl who's struggling to make ties and relationships with her new stepfather, and clearly is going through something with her mother, when her sister goes missing around Caddo Lake. And we follow a second protagonist who also has ties to the same lake, who's investigating the death of his mother, suffering from hemorrhages, from seizures, all related to the lake. After a terrible accident in Caddo Lake, we watch as their two lives come together as they both deal with similar problems around the same place. And that is Caddo Lake.
And first initial thoughts, I knew nothing about this going in.
Likewise.
I just saw a mystery film, and I'm a big mystery buff. I love detective thrillers and all that kind of stuff, and that's what it looked like. I didn't watch the trailer, which I'm really glad, because I watched it afterwards, and I was like, oh man, would I have not watched this movie? But the main selling point and the reason why it even popped up on my feed is because my boy is producing it. I don't know if you saw M. Night Shyamalan slapped his name on there.
Shyamalan? You sure Shyamalan? It feels like a Shyamalan.
M. Night, yeah. It feels like early M. Night.
It feels like good, decent to good Shyamalan.
I was very kind of all over the place, and the story is all over the place, literally. And we're going to try really hard not to put spoilers here. The best thing
in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best way we could say is if you're interested at all in this movie, listen to none of this, watch the movie, and then come back. Because it's hard to explain this movie without explaining this movie, like talking about this.
Yeah. It's hard to review it without giving away key details. So we're going to do that to start, though, and then eventually we will devolve into it. But off the bat, enjoyable film.
Yeah, it's a slow burn, so if you're not interested in those kinds of movies, this is not your thing, but this is very giving. Like later on, once they start giving out information, they do it in little breadcrumbs, and they keep you guessing until the very end.
Chris and I were definitely engaged. They do enough to make you want to ask a lot of questions and still be interested. There's enough drama between our characters where you're like, oh man, how's this person handling this, what they're doing? So definitely have interest in our characters right away, and there's enough weird things happening that if you watch enough of these films, you know later on, like, this has to mean something, but what? And they really hold back on telling you what for a long time.
Yeah, like I also watched this in two settings because I started watching it a couple nights ago.
Balloons just went all over.
Nice.
I
started watching it a couple nights ago, and I watched for maybe like 20 minutes. It was super late at night, and I was just like, I'm not going to finish this. So I shut it off. But then when I came back to it this morning, I was like, I'm starting this over because I know I'm going to miss something. I'm going to forget something. And I was like, this is the type of movie where every scene matters as it leads up to the end. And I was 100% right. If I had watched and forgotten the first 20, I would have not picked up on so many of the little things that they leave for you. So immediately, story-wise, I think simple enough story like to lay the groundwork, but then they really weave in a lot of good elements later on.
Yeah, simple storytelling. Sometimes you don't need if you have a good, solid framework, you can then throw in the complications, then do it. So if you think about the story from, like, timeline-wise, very simple, but the way they present it makes it complicated. Also, too, I think if you had to sit down and tell someone about this film, it might be a little... It gets complicated. At first, it seems very simple, and then totally, goes crazy.
Yeah, and obviously this goes without said, being part of the Shyamalan universe in a sense, and being that type of movie, it's obviously building up to a twist. So we know that. We can tell you that off the bat. But what I like about this movie, and what I like about all movies that have a good twist, is that it's not built around that twist. Like, they actually do have some solid family drama, so I really enjoyed that. Like, I was invested in these characters, so when the twist finally came, it felt warranted and it felt necessary, and it felt like strong.
I called, I think, every twist.
I felt so stupid throughout this whole movie, and it didn't hit me until they did like one. When I watched the trailer and I saw a character in a different timeline, and it was a different actress playing her. I was like, oh shit, I didn't pick up on that at all. I was like, that's so good.
Yeah, I started figuring it out really. There was one thing that I got that was right, but about the wrong character, which I thought, I just turned to Chris, wouldn't it be sick if it was like this? She's like, no. And I'm like, nah, yeah. And then I was right, but wrong character.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on the twist, at least, until probably when we meet the guys in the 50s. That was when I started.
Yeah, at that point you have to figure it out.
I was like, right when they tell you?
That's when dude, as soon as they let me know, I
do it. As soon as they said the twist, got it. But yeah, no, I had a genuinely good time with it, learning about these characters, but also this little phenomenon that's been going on. And I loved seeing all those little things again appear later on. So this is one of those movies that I feel like, out of the ones that we watched this year, I'm gonna go back and watch it again, because I feel like there's gonna be more things that I could pick up on.
Yeah, and even though a lot of these twists were spoiled for me because I was like figuring it out, some of them I figured out, I called way early. I bet, hey, $20, this is it. I think I told Krista $20. I bet you that the biggest one about the younger girl. Mm-hmm. Like, I bet you $20. That's it.
And you got it.
I got it. Nailed it. She goes, no, I'm not betting on it. I took it out. It's a good. Even though I knew the twist, it was still very enjoyable because the way it's being presented. I think overall, they don't do enough of these. It's like the at-home movie that's coming out, like on Disney Channel. So it's not a Disney Channel movie, but like on HBO Max or HBO. It's a good movie to watch at home, rainy night, spooky time season. This is a really good film, and it entertained me the whole time, so I'm very happy.
Now here's a big question to build off of that. Would this have done well in theaters?
No. People are not going out to the theater to watch something like this.
Yeah, so I think it's possibly a good pull for HBO to just release it like this, but I miss the days of going to the movies and you could see something like this, because you were talking about this. That's why I let that conversation go longer than I needed to for Cinematic News, because this is the kind of movies that we want, at least us.
Yeah, and they're not. Long Legs is the exception, but now like a lot of these kind of not off-brand movies, like you can't release a simplistic movie like this with no major actors, no major IP.
Hey man, he was in Teen Wolf.
My bad.
Calm down.
Calm down.
Chris, I got you.
You can't. That's not what people are going for unless you do something so sadistic and evil with Long Legs, where the marketing is doing half the job for it.
The marketing plus Nicolas Cage.
Right. Like, I hate to be rude to this movie, but this is not like we've seen some of this before. Mm. It's nothing new, but it's presented in a great way, like that you don't know that it's this kind of movie. Because the whole first 15 minutes, if you know nothing about it, you're like, what the hell is this movie about?
Yeah, and right after, like right at the tail end of the first act, there was a good part of it where I was super confused, because there was one backstory that they didn't really explain that well, that made it feel like it was something and it was something else. But then I figured it out later on.
Before we go into spoiler territory.
Yeah, let's talk cinematography.
Anything, Nick?
Not that I could see.
Yeah.
No.
I didn't see a crane shot. Did you see a crane shot?
I saw a lot of drone shots.
A lot of drone shots.
But not quite a crane. I like when my elevated cameras are a little mounted down. But overall, I think there's some really good special effects. I like that they didn't go overboard on that.
With something like this, because it's because the problems our characters are facing are really real and really deep and emotional. And so to have like a movie,
because I could have easily seen this on like the Sci-Fi Channel, and like have just a giant fucking portal, just
totally
like
different
open.
movie, totally different movie, right?
I'm just like, I'm glad that it was super subtle, and it felt very real and grounded. I think cinematography wise, I didn't really see anything that was like spectacular.
A lot of close-ups.
lot of close-ups because this is really, it is a drama at the core of it. Like we say, elements of sci-fi.
It's a family drama more than anything else.
Yeah, supernatural. That's why I related it to Lady in the Water. And editing wise, I feel like it was the perfect kind of like invisible editing that we like for family dramas. It makes sense.
I had some issues with the sound. The ADR guy needs to get fired.
That was actually my one. That's gonna spoil my rating for it, but we can talk about it now.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel like many times I had to like flip on the subtitles or run it back because I could not hear what these
understand
people were
a
saying.
word. Like, you know, when they're not facing a character's face and it's behind them. Now I can, which I think is ruining movies for you. You can tell when they're actually saying it and when the sound has been. This is bad.
Welcome to the film set.
Oh, it's terrible, dude.
Imagine me watching Smallville all those years.
Oh my god.
Every time you ever, quick sidetrack.
Don't do this, by the way. You'll ruin movies forever.
In Smallville, specifically Smallville, if you were a fan from 2004 on, and if you made it to the end, just remember how many scenes was somebody talking to another person with their back turned to them as they just look to camera. It happens every time. I always pick up on the opposite camera sound because it just sounds slightly different or it doesn't feel like part of the take. Honestly, at the beginning, I thought it was dubbed. That's what when I called you, I thought it was a foreign film because I was like, it feels dubbed.
I told Krista, hey, I think it's a French film. Turn up.
I look it up.
The guy from Teen Wolf doesn't speak French.
I look it up and it's from America.
Oh man,
that's how bad it was. Because I said that to you.
I believed it.
Yeah, I was like, I think it's foreign. That was the night that I watched like 10 minutes of it and I shut it off. I was like, yeah, I think it's foreign. I don't remember what country it's from, but I realized it's in America.
I just assumed it was France.
Yeah, because they usually fuck you over. So we're going to head into our spoiler section. Yeah. So at this point on, if you don't want to hear anything about very specific things about this movie and you want to go enjoy it for yourself, stop now.
And I think we're saying even before the spoilers or before our final review, I think it is a good watch. So
I think it's a very fun watch.
So it is worth your time. I think normally for some spoilers we don't give a shit. This one I would say no, go watch it first.
Yeah. So spoilers. Looper, but a family drama.
Looper, but a family drama. I said, wouldn't it be this is literally what happened in order. I said, oh, wouldn't it be crazy if they're in different times? I haven't seen him with a cell phone. And then I go, oh, crazy. Wouldn't it be awesome if that's like her father? Oh, crazy. What if she's his mother? In that order, 5 minutes apart.
So I was definitely behind you on that. Like far behind you.
I said there's only two possibilities. And Krista said it too. Like they have to meet up. I said, but I don't feel like they're going to meet up. Because the more it kept going on, it just didn't. Man, I'm not even sure we're in the same fucking place right now.
Because when it came to the rope part, I thought I was 100% certain they were going to meet up. But then they didn't.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been an interesting thing, but I'm glad that it didn't happen. This is a big announcement. I started reading books recently.
Everything okay at home?
Yeah.
All right.
It's been a tough time.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking to myself, man, this would be a
great book.
Like an absolute great
solid book.
And I'm surprised that it wasn't a book and then turned into a movie.
Yeah, and I think in a book you can hide it more. Whereas like in a film, yeah, there's too many
visuals like immediately hitting you. Like you're studying for cell phones and everything else, and it makes sense.
Well, the only reason I studied for cell phones is because they kept making the sound super loud for it. I kept seeing it. I'm like, this motherfucker hasn't brought out a cell phone once, and he's only writing on pen and paper.
Yeah, even when he brings out the map.
Yeah.
The timeline thing.
And I think subconsciously, I probably said, who the fuck brings out a map? Fuck you.
Time traveler.
GPS, motherfucker. You bring out a map, you're from the past.
Today, I hope you encounter somebody with a map.
I'll fuck them up.
Yeah, the one thing I didn't quite understand when they jumped times was when she was jumping days. That got a little tricky for me. Mm-hmm. I think it would have been easier if she was jumping years, but I think that would have given it away too much. Because I thought she was like... We see so much of the multiverse nowadays that when we first get that shot of her doing the Back to the Future and watching herself, I was like... is this one of those multi-verse kind of things? I was like, Joe's gonna hate me for this. I was like, but then once I realized it's time travel,
then you're like, she takes the boat, she does this, like it all.
And then this one of the best reveals that I thought was in this movie was when she has the confrontation with her mother, and the mother told her that story originally as being the other woman, and I was like, oh my god, it's the butterfly effect all over again. Like she's influencing her own timeline. It's like crazy.
Yeah, that was probably the only one I did not realize. As soon as she went to the truck, I'm like, yo, is she about to meet her mom and go crazy?
Like, I knew that she was gonna bump into the mother because of the necklace, but I didn't. It wasn't until they actually start fighting and she drops the papers. I'm like, oh, this is gonna translate.
And thank God they dropped the papers for those of us who are just, no offense, brain rot TikTokers who just like, don't know what's going on. I think because if that doesn't give it away, right?
Yeah,
this is a good. I don't know. It's a good movie.
I think it's a good movie. I think it's one of those movies that we said in the past. It's an imperfect, perfect movie.
Yeah.
So I think you already know where my score is going to be for this one. But what was your favorite scene in the movie? Because that was mine. The parking lot encounter.
Parking lot encounter.
I think it set up a lot.
The going when Ellie's in 2005 and she looks up the.
I knew that was going to be it when she's on the computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you love your reveals.
Yeah, love my reveals when it's reveals like. And I know what's going to be revealed. This movie does not try to explain time to you. There is no big there's no flashback
sequence where they show everything happening.
There's no blueprints of like, this is time, imagine you're here. And you know what? Because if people really ran into a time problem, nobody's going to sit down and be like, let me tell you exactly what's happening to you right now. Like, nobody knows.
Like, Ma, this is how my day's been going. Like, there was none of that. But also, I think the Hollywood version of this would have been a sequence where you see Anna go missing, traveling through time, being dropped off in the 50s, showing her whole life as it approaches having her son and going back in, which I'm glad that they didn't do.
Yeah, because it's not about them.
No. It was about the daughter's relationship with her mom and her family.
And her friend who's into Trevor with the fucking phone that she sleeps over. She gets in the adventure. Trevor ends up dying or being lost in time. They rescue him, and he shows up at the last second at the end.
Caddo Lake 2.
Caddo Lake 2. That's Caddo Lake 2, you fuckers.
And then I think before we jump into final thoughts and ratings, let's just talk about performances. Who stood out to you?
Ellie's got a weird face. If I can make a chart of all the weird face actors and actresses, she's now on that. They do a lot of close-ups with her, but you understand her character, what she wants, what she's going through really quickly, so big props to her.
I did like her in, she was in Sharp Objects, if you've seen that one.
No.
All right. Great show. But I think she's really good. I think her and Dylan O'Brien, who I've just learned his name, were really good, very well casted, very good for their parts. All right, so let's head into final thoughts and ratings.
Yeah, this is definitely more of a watch than a talk about, so go watch it again.
Yeah, so we'll keep it short and sweet. It's an imperfect, perfect movie. Very captivating to watch. I loved every single minute of it leading up to its major twist, even though I couldn't figure it out at all until I got there. I do think performance-wise, everybody's doing a really great part. I think this is a wonderful family drama. I love the supernatural elements to it. I love that it wasn't beating you over the head with them. I do, however, have just slight issues with some of its pacing in the second act, and definitely the sound. The dialogue issues of not being able to hear it. We love to hear dialogue. So for those reasons, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5.
It's a tough one for me because I don't know if it's a 5 or a 4. I want to give it a 5 because it didn't come out in theaters. Then it feels like, does that mean everything at home just gets a +1 bonus? That doesn't seem right. So it feels like it's a 4. But in the last 5 years, we haven't had it. It's myself texting me from the bed. In the last 5 years, we haven't had a movie about time travel not instantly just be a fucking shit show of explanation and dog poopy multiverse. And this movie instead was probably what would happen if someone actually ran into time travel.
I'll actually tell you, outside of Looper, I think the best time travel movie, I'm going to say Back to the Future also, but Safety Not Guaranteed.
Oh, I don't know that one. Yeah, it's a movie I think that is, for the most part, you have some honest characters, real emotions, no crappy exposition. All the clues are there if you want to figure it out. Nothing feels unjustified, unwarranted, or just unearned. Everything feels like you could have figured it out. I figured it out. I don't know. It's a good movie. The problem is it a 4 or 5? Is it perfect? No. Does the sound suck? Yeah, a lot of it does. The first 20 minutes, put on the subtitles. That's my biggest.
France.
In France. On the phone. I'm like, they have to be in Louisiana. That's too much Cajun. Let me make a name for myself. I don't know, guys. This is real. I'm really just stalling on here. Can I give it a 5? Am I allowed to give this a 5?
You are allowed. This is our show.
It's a 4.
I thought you were gonna pull like a random. It's a 3. It's a 3.
It's a 2. No.
Plot twist.
It's a 4. And me from the future asked me on the last episode if this is a 5 or not. And
I'll do a nice edit for you.
I think me in the future is gonna say fuck the guy in the past. It's a 4.
Well, actually, you can during the Broskers when you can adjust any of your ratings.
Yeah, but I want to adjust
3.
all of them. You know what I
Only
mean?
3.
Only 3. I brought 6, but we're only doing 3.
You're like the reverse of the guy in Pawn Stars. Is like, this is the best I could do. Like, no, I could do more.
I can do better.
I could do better.
There's been another episode of Take 303. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you're following 4way_media and Take.303 on Instagram. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. And if you have any family drama want it resolved, consider going through a time portaling fucking lake. Question of the week is, what is your favorite time travel movie of all time? Or what movie do you think handles time travel the best? And this week's poll question of the week is, who is better looking, Taylor Lautner or Dylan O'Brien or any wolf? That is the poll question of the week. And
Michael J. Fox.
Or Michael J. Fox as well. I totally forgot about him. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.